Hello, everybody. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and welcome to this quote unquote 7 round mock draft. Now, I'll explain on the quotes in a minute here, but I just wanted to thank you guys for tuning into the channel. We are running close to the draft, we are 7 days away, and this is my final mock draft that I will be doing for this quote unquote draft season. I will have one more video coming out before the draft, and that is my top 100 prospects in the draft. So if you guys are interested in that, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn that bell on to get notifications so you guys know when I upload that video. So I say quote unquote 7 round mock draft because this isn't me going through a 7 round mock draft. This is me performing a 7 round mock draft and then talking to you guys about the 32 NFL teams that picked in this draft. So I'm going to be going through each team individually, who they selected, why I selected them, and etc. This is more of what I think should happen more than what I think is going to happen, as you'll see by some of these prospects that are going to fall later into this mock draft. There are a couple guys that will probably be going in the second to third round, and I have them going in the fifth, sixth, maybe even seventh round. So we'll see how the draft pans out here in 7 days, and we'll go from there. So, just a couple of things before we start. I'm going to have a key at my camera's this way, at this over here the entire time. And the key is going to explain some of the color coding that I have going on in this video. So for red, if a player is red, that means I am selecting them 50 plus picks over their consensus. So let's just say a guy is consensus 70th overall pick and I pick him at 150th overall, or I pick him at 120th overall or higher, I'll say that. That means the player is going to be bolded red. If they're 120th and I pick them 70th or lower, they're going to be highlighted green for 50 under consensus. And then there is also going to be a yellow color code, and that is just going to be for if the guy is involved in a mock trade that I have going on. I do have a big chunk of mock trades in this draft, and I didn't really want to do this many mock trades when I originally went in, but then I did it, and I'm like, these make so much sense. So I will explain as we're going through what teams did mock trade a lot. There will also be the mock trades listed off to the side. And yeah, so let's get right into this actually. Let's get started here with the Buffalo Bills. So the Buffalo Bills here, I do have them going through a mock trade, and that is they basically received 2 picks in this draft for a pick in the next draft. I basically went through this. They traded, I'm going to set this here actually. They traded down from, the Commanders wanted to trade away 6-193 when I was doing this. So the Bills pick up 2 picks. They trade away a 2024 round 4 pick. So again, as I mentioned, this is what I think should happen and not what I think will happen. So let's get started here. We have John Michael Schmitz with their first pick at pick 27 in the first round. Interior offensive lineman. In my opinion, he is the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. He has minimal flaws in his technique overall. He can block the pass. He can block the run. He's just an overall great interior blocker with very minimal like tags or cons about his game. The one thing that I could point out is that he does kind of have a lack of lateral movement, and in Minnesota's scheme, he saw a lot of double teams, so that may have kind of bolstered his production a little bit with the double teams, but nonetheless, he still won a lot of snaps, and I think that he's just a fantastic interior offensive lineman. 259, we have wide receiver Rashee Rice. He's my wide receiver 5. I love Rashee Rice. He's a great playmaker. He's got great athleticism and open field ability for his size. He does have a mid-third round projection, but the Bills taking him in the late second. Again, I think Rice is a top 5 wide receiver in this draft. I have him over guys like Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. Well, I can't think of anyone else to the top of my head. We'll get to all those guys later, but that's why I have the Bills taking Rashee Rice. I don't particularly trust Gabe Davis. Khalil Shakir's in the slot, so maybe a slot receiver would be better here for the Bills. But nonetheless, I don't trust Gabe Davis, and I think Rashee Rice will be a nice backup to start his career, potentially develop into a starter. We have 391 at Dion Henley. They just lost Terrell Edmonds. Of course, that is a pretty big gaping hole now at linebacker. They still do have Matt Milano on the outside, but nonetheless, this hole may be addressed earlier if the linebacker class was up to par. Henley is my linebacker 5 in this class. But like, for example, at 259, the best linebacker available, if I can think of it, was Henry To'oTo'o. And then Dion Henley at linebacker 5. So 259, not a great place to draft either of them, in my opinion. And it's just, if the linebacker class was like average, they would probably be picking them at like 127 or 259, just like they did with Edmonds a couple years back. And then the rest of these guys are kind of just rotational pieces. You got DeMarco Hellens at safety. He is my 13th best safety in this class. At 137, you have Nick Saliveri at offensive tackle, my 15th best offensive tackle. We'll pick 193 in the mock trade with the Commanders. They select Brenton Cox Jr., edge, who is the 27th best edge. And at 233, you select Deshaun Jameson out of Texas at cornerback. He's my final cornerback on the board at cornerback 31. And then at 6'205, it's Mo Ibrahim out of Minnesota, running back. I don't think they need a running back, but Mo Ibrahim's got high upside. He's just got a pretty lengthy injury history. So with that being said, Mo Ibrahim is probably a solid selection at 6'205. All right, we are moving on now to the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins only have 4 picks here in this draft, and I don't have them trading for another one, but I do have them making a mock trade to get Devin White. So I have them trading a next year second-round pick. They can't really afford to trade a this year pick to get Devin White. But they get Devin White in the end. I know Devin White's been in a lot of just character concerns lately. He's been posting about the Bucs, but he wants to be traded away from the Bucs, and the Bucs won't budge, but I think in the end they probably will. So with that being said, your 4 picks in this draft, I like Tucker Kraft at pick 51 for the Dolphins. Laporta's still on the board. Musgrave's still on the board, but I think Kraft is the best tight end. He's my tight end 4. He did play in the FCS, but I do think he translates smoothly to the NFL. He's got very high upside, and offensive tackle is a pretty big need. But at pick 51, Bergeron is a slight reach, and there are still options in free agency. Donovan Smith is there. Cameron Fleming is there. Isaiah Wynn is there. So you got options in free agency. I think they spend that trying to get a tackle, and they take tight end here at 51. At 84, I have Siaki Ika, interior defensive lineman. I'm not a big fan of Ika personally, but he is still a very powerful guy who can brush his way to the quarterback, and he can provide a pretty solid replacement for Raekwon Davis. But again, I'm not too big of a fan of him. He's my interior defensive lineman, number 11, and they don't pick for over 100 picks. So I think at this point you got to hit at D-line. Pick 197 and 238. These guys are just going to be your role players who are cut candidates going into the year. And I don't think Ricky Stromberg, interior O-line, is going to get cut. He's my 16th favorite interior O-lineman, but this team is just desperate for that position and O-line in general that I don't think that he would get cut. I do think Aubrey Miller probably gets cut, though. He is my 18th favorite linebacker. And I think it's just at this point he fell to the Dolphins. They just take him. Moving on. We got New England. I think New England's a pretty interesting selection here. At pick 14, you got a lot of options at many different positions that you guys need. You got wide out, you got corner, interior D-line, still a pretty solid need. Even off the edge might be a pretty big need. But I think they take Quentin Johnston in the end. Oh yeah, and a quick disclaimer: I did not color code the Patriots, so I do apologize for that. But I believe the only couple that would be color coded is the mock trade, and I think Dwayne McBride is at the bottom is 50 over consensus. But nonetheless, Quentin Johnston, there are several great options. As I said, at corner, you do have Forbes, Porter, and Banks on the board. but I do think Johnston was pretty easily the best guy left on the board. He is a fantastic route runner with contested catch abilities, downfield ability, red zone potential, and he's my favorite wide receiver in this class. 246, you got Julius Brents, cornerback out of Kansas State. I recently re-scouted him, and he didn't really move much, but he is still a pretty solid cornerback with good upside. The frame and the tackling is already there, and I do think he fits pretty well with the Patriots. He is my cornerback 11. There are a couple better cornerbacks on the board at this point, but I did end up going with Brents just because I like the fit there with New England. 386, you got Colby Wooden through the mock trade. So long story short, the Patriots traded down 10 selections because the Ravens wanted to trade up. I'm getting into the Ravens here in just a couple of picks. But they take Colby Wooden with that pick, and he's not high on consensus at all. He's not 50 under consensus, but he's not too high. But I do love him as a versatile pass rushing weapon. He can be utilized as kind of like a Dietrich Wise kind of guy, or even a Barmore. He could play anywhere on that D line, just probably not on the outside, like outside linebacker or anything like Matt Judon might will. He played D end or outside linebacker. I think Wooden just sticks to that D line. 4107 is KJ Henry, an edge, and this kind of just puts just words on this edge rushing class. He is my 20th favorite edge in this class, and he's going at pick 107. I think that's crazy, but out of Clemson, he was very productive with Clemson, and he was one of the key factors to one of the best defensive lines in college football last year with Breesy. Murphy is also on that line. There's one guy who I can't think of, but yeah. And this was actually a 50 under consensus right here at 4117 with Rajon Wright. I think he's got fantastic coverage instincts. He's got very high upside. He's my 16th favorite corner, but I think he's got like late 7th round projections on him. I heavily disagree with that. I think at this point, if you're the Patriots, you want to keep going with that secondary depth. So Rajon Wright's the pick, in my opinion. Now we go on to 4135, offensive tackle with Wanya Morris. Not at the biggest need for them, but he is my offensive tackle 12. I think he would be a solid rotational piece. And then the rest of these guys are kind of just role players, potential cut candidates. You got Trey Dean III at my 16th best safety, Josh Weil at my tight end 12, Antonio Mafi at my interior lineman 15, Dwayne McBride at my running back 18, and Yasir Abdullah at my linebacker 20. Moving on, we're going to go to the New York Jets. They have 5 picks only, and they do make make 2 mock trades here, actually. I don't think they need a lot. I think with the fact that Aaron Rodgers is about 90% coming to New York, I do think that it's there. I have at a mock trade, I have the Jets receiving Aaron Rodgers, of course. They trade away the 42nd overall pick, a round 3 in 2024, and wide receiver Corey Davis. And then the other mock trade I'll get to in a moment. But at pick 13, I have Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle. This is a big need for New York. He reminds me a lot of what New York wants at tackle, and he reminds me a lot of Becton as well. Very good measurables and really good length. And him and Jones also reminds me a lot of Becton. But at the same time, Jones has already been selected at this point. I'll talk about that later. But Paris Johnson is the best offensive tackle on the board, my personal tackle number 3. 243, you got Trenton Simpson. He's my favorite linebacker in this class. He's an athletic beast. He just checks off a lot of linebacker boxes. So he's a really good fit to work as a linebacker 3, just rotating in and out of the lineup. At 399, this is the mock trade. So the Jets trade away 4 pick 112, a 2024 round 4 and round 6 picks, and they trade up 13 spots to pick up Quan Martin, Jartavius Martin, however you want to reference to him, safety out of Illinois. A lot of safeties are going off the board in the 3rd round, and I think Quan Martin has a very high upside. He can possibly replace Michael Carter as the nickelback in this offense. He's my 10th favorite safety, but I think the scheme fit here, as well as the fact that they need nickel corner as well, is going to be Quan Martin is probably the best pick here at safety. And then these two guys are probably going to be role players, but I want to talk about Voorhees just really quick. I think he's a third-round talent if he didn't tear his ACL. The ACL tear is going to be very concerning, especially when you're in New York. You've dealt with a lot of injuries on the O-line with Mekhi Becton, and now you're picking up Voorhees. It's kind of a little bit of a trust, the fact that he can recover from his injury, but I do think he's a third-round talent outside of that. He's my 8th favorite interior O-lineman. And then there's Ali Gay at edge. He is my 28th best edge. All right, AFC East. We're moving on to the AFC North. We are going to Baltimore. They also have 5 picks in this draft. I don't think they add any more. They do end up trading up, which I'll mention that in a moment. 122, though, you got Nolan Smith at edge. They could go Deonte Banks is still available at this position, but I think he's just a boom bust edge. He can fit in any scheme, and Ravens will utilize him as probably an outside linebacker and possibly an inside linebacking blitzer. He's a very athletic pass rusher. He's just very inconsistent with his technique and leverage, and that's what makes him a boom or bust here. He's my 5th favorite edge on the board, though. And then the mock trade, I mentioned this with the Patriots. The Ravens do trade up 10 spots to snag Garrett Williams, the cornerback out of Syracuse. He's the best cornerback on the board at this point. I didn't take one with the first pick because of the cornerback depth in this class is pretty deep. So I think Garrett Williams at 76 has better value than Deonte Banks at 22. He has a lot of special teams value as well because of his amazing tackling ability, and he's my 9th favorite corner in this class. The first guy we've seen highlighted in red throughout this video, Marvin Mims at pick 124. I'm not a big fan of Mims at all. He's not versatile. He's got a very small route tree. He was just very unproductive and underwhelming at Oklahoma, but he still has great red zone upside, and he could potentially be that 8 to 10 touchdown guy, kind of like that year one Chase Claypool that everybody just like gets a lot of touches in the red zone and just makes plays for touchdowns. After that, 157, Evan Hull, I want to discuss him a little bit. Dobbins and Edwards have both had their injury concerns, so I think Evan Hull, who is the best running back on the board at this point, just provides injury support behind them. He is my RB12 in this class. And Anthony Johnson Jr., nothing really to say about him. He's my cornerback 29. He's a cut candidate. Cincinnati Bengals are next. Let's discuss here. This was a very. I'm thinking back. This was actually a really fun team to draft for. First, they trade down out of the first round with the Rams. Rams take their first and their fourth, and the Bengals get their second and their third, or one of their thirds. So, Bengals trade down, and they still get Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. I think this was probably going to be the pick at 28, no matter what. Trade down, you still get him. There is a positional need here at tight end at 36. So it's a good trade down option here, and he's an elite receiving tight end with the upside to be the third favorite target as a rookie in that offense. But he's not a great blocker, but they did get Irv Smith, who is a very fundamental blocker. So I think Kincaid will be pretty good in that offense. Tyreek Stevenson at 260, cornerback out of Miami. He's an elite press corner with physical traits. Bengals are just missing out on those physical traits at cornerback right now. There's an Awuzie injury concern, and I did like how Taylor Britt played in his first year as an outside corner, but he wasn't too physical, and they can still utilize him as kind of like that hybrid corner and hybrid safety, if you will. Stevenson's a pretty good pick here at 60. Pick 77. Part of that trade, they get Sidney Brown, safety out of Illinois. You keep the secondary depth coming, and you just bolster the weakest part of the defense. Brown has great ball skills. He has great timing as a safety. He's got great anticipation as a safety. He's got these cornerback traits as a safety, and he can really play anywhere on the field. And he is my 6th favorite safety in this class. 92 was a very interesting pick, and this is why I say this draft was really fun. They get Zach Evans out of Ole Miss, the running back. The Joe Mixon controversy honestly impacts the draft strategy more than people probably think it does. But nonetheless, Mixon's just running out of time. He's getting a bit older, and the team with minimal running back depth, Mixon's already a bit inconsistent. Evans is the best running back available, and he actually does remind me a lot of a younger Mixon. So Evans is my running back 7 in this class, though. And then the rest of these guys could be cut candidates. I have pick 163, Connor Galvin, my offensive tackle 17, DJ Dale, my interior defensive lineman 18, and Jalen Moreno-Cropper is my wide receiver 27. Actually, I shouldn't say Moreno-Cropper is a cut candidate, because I do think he can work really well as a rotational piece, as wide out, but I don't know. It really depends how he performs early on. All right, moving on to Cleveland. So Cleveland here, you got you pick pretty late. They don't make any mock trades in this draft, but you are picking pretty late for Cleveland. So you start with Tuli Tuipulotu. And I say this because he can play anywhere on that defensive line. He can play outside and inside. And this defensive line just needs some bolstering. They have Myles Garrett already, but the rest of them are just and the depth is under average as well. So utilize Tuipulotu wherever you'd like. He is my edge number 17, and that's where I scouted him. But if he was to be interior D lineman, he would be my interior defensive lineman number 9. 398, we got Kobe Turner, interior defensive line. So this is my actual interior defensive lineman number 9 here. Pretty big risk, but you continue to bolster that offensive line. He's a high upside interior guy with great athleticism, but he's got minimal experience at a high level. He started at Richmond a lot, and then he transferred over to Wake Forest for last season, and he actually didn't start one game with Wake Forest. So that's a little concerning, but I do like the upside that he brings. Pick 111, you got Raheem Jarrett, just a rotational receiver here. He's my wide receiver 10. Definitely higher than the consensus says he is, but he's got great playmaking abilities. He's got great run after catch abilities. He's got very big play upside for that. 126, Keaton Mitchell, the running back. This guy keeps rising up my board by the day. He is a very shifty running back who he's just risen on my board. I think he's definitely got RB2 potential. Especially with Cleveland, he'll probably immediately be that RB2 with Kareem Hunt not re-signed. So, Keaton Mitchell's my running back 9 in this class. At pick 140, I have Ivan Pace Jr., linebacker, out of Cincy. There's a big trend with the athletic selections here with Cleveland so far, and that continues with Pace. He's got pass rush upside to just keep pressuring the quarterback. He's my 9th favorite linebacker in this class. Here we go. This is a very interesting pick here, but hear me out, Browns fans. The projected undrafted guy, Leonard Taylor, at pick 142. He is projected to go undrafted at tight end, and I might not be the most credible guy to say this because I thought Hunter Bryant was going to be a big steal, and he didn't even go drafted. But this guy, Leonard Taylor, is an all-around tight end, and he actually reminds me a lot of George Kittle coming out of college. Upside is through the roof for Leonard Taylor, so you take that risk at 142 if you're Cleveland because you already got Njoku, you got Harrison Bryant, and that's about it at tight end. So you're going to want to select Leonard Taylor, bring him into that offense, and just see whatever goes on there. And then these guys are rotational pieces at the bottom, but Caleb Murphy is consensus 300. And I really do like him. Pick 190, he's my edge number 26. And Trey Tucker, a wideout, is my wide receiver 25. Moving on, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers to round out the AFC North. Darnell Wright at offensive tackle. Steelers do need both offensive tackles, so why not pick the guy who can play both? He's got guard versatility as well, and I just think Wright is an overall fantastic option for the Steelers. He rose on my board. I originally had him at a late second-round pick and mid-second-round pick talent. He's almost a late first-round pick talent now. He is now at offensive tackle 4. That might change before the draft. He's going to stay at offensive tackle 4, but he might be a first-round talent by the time draft comes around. All right, pick 32. I got Kelee Ringo, cornerback. Steelers fans, I don't think they'll like this because not a lot of people like Kelee Ringo for some reason, but he still has a very good combination of size and athleticism. He's got great upside. The production at Georgia and the playoff performances are a pretty big concern. I'll give that to you, but it's still good upside, and he's got a prototypical build for a cornerback like that. He's my 6th favorite cornerback in this class. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers just tweeted out as I was saying that. That's actually kind of funny. Pick 49, Keanu Benton. I've seen a lot of mocks saying Keanu Benton to the Steelers, and I couldn't agree more. He's a dual-threat defensive tackle. He'll work as the Steelers' fantastic one-tech to defend both the pass and the run. He is a day-one starter for Pittsburgh to me, and he can develop beside Cam Hayward very well. He's my 4th favorite interior defensive lineman in this class. 380, take another offensive tackle here, and Blake Freeland. This is under the assumption that Darnell Wright plays right tackle, and Blake Freeland comes in and sits behind Dan Moore, but potentially develop into that starting left tackle position later on. And he checked out athletically at the combine, and he's already got really good length and prototypical size alongside that. So my 10th favorite offensive tackle in this class there. 394, we got a mock trade here. Steelers trade up to pick 94, trade away next year 3rd-round pick. Eagles trade away the 120th pick, Steelers trade away the 120th pick and that 3rd-rounder. Steelers also get a 5th-rounder next year. Henry To'oTo'o is who the Steelers take here after trading up 26 slots. Linebackers are going to start flying off the board with this starting here. So if the Steelers don't trade up here, they're missing out on a good linebacker. He's really good at block deconstruction, and he's great at mirroring receivers in coverage. He's just got a very pro-ready tape, and he's going into a winning culture. So it's a great fit for him, linebacker 4, in my opinion. 172 now. They traded, as I said, they traded away pick 120. So guess what? They trade up again. Or they don't even trade up. They trade for the 172nd overall pick, and they also get a next year round 6 pick, and they trade away next year's 4th-round pick. And they got Parker Washington, wide receiver, and this is being recorded at the time of Wednesday, the day before upload at 5 o'clock. So Allen Robinson trade has already happened. I adjusted the mock draft to that trade, and it does not phase the selection of Parker Washington. Robinson's probably going to play in the slot at Pittsburgh, and they still need outside receiver depth, and so it's a good pickup here in my opinion. Wide receiver 18 in this class, and these next 2 guys are just rotational guys. You got Terrell Smith at 241. Cornerback. That is 50 over consensus. He is undrafted talent in my opinion, but he is the best cornerback on the board at this point. And then you also have at 251, you have DJ Johnson at edge. All right. We have moved outside of the AFC North, and we are moving on to the Houston Texans. 1-2, you have Will Anderson Jr., an edge rusher. My favorite prospect in this draft. He is a perfect edge rusher. He is very elusive, great play strength, can defend the run, can defend the pass. He can drop back into coverage too. And he has very minimal and minor concerns. So he's the perfect prospect for me. Number 1 player in this draft, number 1 edge prospect with that, of course. At pick 12, we got Broderick Jones. He's my favorite offensive tackle in this class, but he's not my favorite offensive lineman. That is going to go to Skoronski, who I'll talk about later. If you want to see where Skoronski was drafted, you can go in the description and see, and then you can skip to that team, and I'll explain that. But he's got the best upside at offensive tackle. He's got low experience, but he's very athletic with elite tempo blocking. And I noticed that tempo blocking is going to potentially be really big for a reliable and valuable piece. As I said, favorite offensive tackle in this class. People are going to hate this, but at pick 26, I have quarterback Hendon Hooker. The mock trade there is the Texans trade up 7 slots to take Hendon Hooker. They trade away pick 33, 104, and 201. And they give up a lot of capital to trade up and get their QB. I'm thinking the Texans pick up a guy like Carson Wentz and then trade for Hooker. And the reason I say they pick up a guy like Wentz and then still get a quarterback is because Hooker might not play this year in his first season. But so just taking Hooker in general is probably a little bit too bold. Unless you want to trust Mills and probably not pick up a quarterback, that's okay. But Hooker played in a college offense with translation concerns, but he's still got fantastic decision making, and accuracy in the pocket is one of the best in this class. So I like this pick here at 26. At 65, we got Josh Downs, wide receiver. Now you got to surround the QB. He was very good with fast targets at Tennessee in that fast tempo offense. So you surround him with Downs. Hyatt was already picked off the board. Sadly, couldn't take him. But Downs is not a bad substitute at all. He's my wide receiver 7. He's got a very wide route tree, big, deep threat potential, and he gets open on short routes too. 73, their second, third round pick. They take Byron Young out of Alabama, not the guy from Tennessee. Young is very high on my board compared to the consensus. He's not 50 under, but he's very high on my board. His film just passed the eye test for me. He's got great leverage. He's got versatility across the defensive line, and it's just a very high upside selection. He's my 6th favorite interior defensive lineman in this class. Then they traded away their 4th round pick, so he skipped to the 161st pick, and they take Darius Rush. The Texans fans might like this because as I said before, this is what I think teams should do. So there's not particularly a winner or a loser of this draft. But Darius Rush didn't impress me at all. He's got concerning man coverage ability, and that's just not going to fly in the NFL. But I have him going 50 over consensus. But nonetheless, he's still a pretty solid rotational piece. He's my 24th favorite corner in this class. Rest of these guys are rotational / cut pieces. Anthony Orji at linebacker 14. Tight end Jaleel Bingsley at tight end 13. Bennett Williams at safety out of Oregon. You got safety 21. And with Mr. Irrelevant, another guy who is 50 over consensus, actually almost over 100 over consensus. I have A.T. Perry, wide receiver out of Wake Forest. I don't know. A.T. Perry's just not... I don't really know. He's just, in my opinion, not a great NFL receiver. That's all I can really describe it as right now. I didn't go too deep into him ever, but I just don't think he passed the eye test for me. He's my 35th favorite wide receiver in this class. Anyhow, moving forward through the AFC South, we got the Indianapolis Colts. We got 9 picks here, and the first one is a quarterback at 1-4. Potentially could be Will Levis here, but I have them going Anthony Richardson because that's who I think they should draft. As I said, Texans stay put and select an edge at 1-2. So there's the third best quarterbacks available for the Colts. So they take Anthony Richardson, best QB available with a QB needy team. He's got the best athleticism in this class. He's got the best upside in this class, but he's also the most raw prospect in this class. He needs to be placed into a good system, and is Indianapolis a good system for him? We can find out. As I said, QB3. At 235, I have Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Indy's O-line really disappointed last year. Like we were all fake that this offensive line was top 3. Excuse me. At least that's how I was faked, but they were not good last year. Offensive tackle-wise, Braden Smith was a big disappointment, and Raymond had a disappointing start to his career. So do you want to possibly move Raymond to the inside given his size? You just need that bolster on the line. So Anton is my OT5 in this class. 379, you got Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. Colts desperately need that outside corner, and he's got a developed skill set, and you just don't want to go too raw here. Hodges Tomlinson is a lockdown, and man, he's got great athleticism, and despite his size, he's still a pretty solid, like, he's going to be an outside corner. He's my 13th best corner in this class. And at 4-106, the other Byron Young gets selected. So not only do both Byron Youngs get selected in this draft, they also get to play in the same division. So he's an edge rusher out of Tennessee. He's the second best Byron Young in this class. He's likely a rotational piece to start his career, but he's got the upside to grow into a starter. So he's my number 18 edge. 162. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. 138 is Tyler Scott, wide receiver out of Cincy. Yeah, Cincy. That's right, because Alec Pierce is from Cincinnati too. So, rotational wide receiver. Scott's got great speed. Wide receiver 15 in this class. And now at 162, Scott was 50 over consensus, which that's kind of just how the dominoes fell, really. They just fell to get him at that pick. But 50 under consensus because this guy's doesn't even have a consensus. It's Kendall Smith out of Illinois. He's a potential diamond in the rough out of this safety class, especially since this class is such a weak safety class. He's just a great ball hawk. He's my 15th best safety in this class. And then the guys who are probably going to, these guys are probably going to get cut, except for Adam Korsak at punter. I think he can outduel Rigoberto Sanchez. I'm confident in that. But at 176, Mekhi Gardner, cornerback 26. And at 236, got an undrafted talent in Dante Stills, just the best interior guy available in this class at that point. Moving on, we got Jacksonville. All right. 124, Brian Branch, safety. Safety is not the biggest need for Jacksonville here, but he's a versatile defensive back. He can play anywhere in the secondary, and I think that's what sells Jacksonville at this point. He's got elite tackling ability. He's got great short and medium route coverage. Man, he may not be a deep coverage guy, though, so that might take away some upside, but he is still the best safety in this class. Again, very weak class for safeties this year. 370. Zach Harrison, you got an edge. This is where the mock trade comes in. The first one, Jacksonville trades down from pick 56. They traded to the Raiders to get 70, 141, and a next year fourth rounder. Pretty good return for just trading down 14 picks. They still get Zach Harrison as well. He's a good athlete, especially for his frame. His production was pretty underwhelming at Ohio State, but developmental upside is still there. He's my 15th favorite edge in this class. And another mock trade, another trade down for Jacksonville. They trade down from 88, and they give it to the Bears. They trade away pick 88 and a 2024 round 6 for Jacksonville gets 103, 136, and a round 5 in 2024. With that pick, they select Zach Kuntz, tight end. I am not trusting Evan Ingram on the franchise tag. Nonetheless, Kuntz is a backup tight end nonetheless, but I'm not trusting Ingram on a tag. I think he could potentially leave for a big contract next offseason, especially if you draft Kuntz. So, in response, you just pick up that new backup tight end. He's got a very high upside as a pass catcher, just like Evan Ingram did. Tight end 8. And then you got back-to-back corners here at 121 and 127. You got Jalen Jones and Eli Ricks. Again, two guys to bolster the secondary. Jones has an NFL skill set with zone ability to play a versatile kind of guy in the secondary, just like Branch. Excuse me. He's my 19th favorite cornerback. And Ricks is a little bit inexperienced, but he's smart and he's got great ball skills. More of a developmental upside kind of guy for him. He's my 21st favorite corner in this class. And they pick again, 9 picks later, on 136 with the mock trade. They pick Dorian Williams, who is probably one of the more underrated linebackers in this class. He is my linebacker 7. He's got very high upside as an athlete at linebacker as well, and he's a good open field tackler. Rest of these guys are some of these guys aren't cut candidates, but some of these guys are just probably not going to play a lot. At pick 141, you got Mora Ojomo at interior D-line. At 185, you got Carter Warren, offensive tackle. He is undrafted talent, but he is the best undrafted talent, actually, out of every position. 202, Cameron Young, interior D lineman at D-line 17. Jake Moody, my favorite kicker in this class, goes at 208. And at 226, we got Braden Daniels, interior offensive lineman, number 17. And we now go to the final team, which it's going to be bold. Tennessee Titans. Just take a look for yourself here for a few seconds. A little bold. But nonetheless, Titans trade up to 1-3 to get their quarterback of the future. I've heard they don't trust Willis, and I've heard Tannehill might be out. So nonetheless, you trade up to get your quarterback, might not start immediately, and he might not be placed in the greatest situation, but nonetheless, trade up to get him. Titans trade away pick 11, pick 41, and next year's second rounder for the third pick and the 105th pick. And with that third pick, they take C.J. Stroud. Oops, I accidentally knocked my mic. But when not being pressured, Stroud is the best quarterback in this class. When he is being pressured, he sucks. Decision making, accuracy, mobility, it's just he's got good at all of that when he's not under pressure. That poise is going to have to take a massive step up for the NFL, especially when you're going into an O-line like the Titans where they're not that good at blocking, pass blocking especially. 72, Matthew Bergeron at offensive tackle. I told you it was a reach earlier about, I think it was 13 picks before this, but now it's not. And as I said, Stroud needs a great situation. So they pick up Dillard. That was a solid pickup to me, but Petit Frere will not, I think that's how you say his name. He will not last as a starter. So Bergeron is likely going to play right tackle because he has a lack of length, but he does have good lateral movement. He is my 8th favorite offensive tackle. 4105, part of that mock trade with the Cardinals, they get Andre Iosivas. I think, again, some of these names I might botch. I apologize. But he's part of that trade, and he's the best wide receiver on the board at this point. He is 50 under consensus at this pick. I think he's very underrated. He's got very high upside with good athleticism, good ball skills as well, at the catch point especially. And, he's my 11th favorite wideout in this class. Getting him at 105 is a pretty good bargain. The rest of these guys, role players / guys who are probably not going to play or might get cut. Isaiah McGuire, edge number 25. I do want to mention with Kendra Miller, though, he is 50 over consensus at this point. The dominoes did fall. He's my 14th favorite running back in this class. But with that being said, Henry might be gone. Kendra Miller might be the future, depending on how they take it. And then Drew Scruggs, interior line. He's an undrafted talent at 228. No big deal. All right, we are moving on to the Denver Broncos here. Another team with a very low amount of picks, and they don't make any mock trades in this draft. Actually, they're my Denver Broncos. Repping Cortland Sutton right now. We got Russ here in the back. But I don't know. I don't have any bias picking for Denver again. Every team is who I think they should pick, and I don't like the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm going to pick it to their best ability. Nonetheless, pick 367. You got Andre Carter off the edge. They don't have any massive needs, but they got a lot of minor needs, so you're going to want to fill up those minor needs if you want to be successful. Carter is a standout athlete at edge with extremely high upside, but he does need to develop a wider pass rush like skill set and leverage as well is a pretty big concern. He is my 13th favorite edge in this class. Excuse me. 68, you got Jordan Battle. You go back-to-back here, of course. Battle is a versatile safety at this pick with the lead anticipation for the position. He does need to work on his tackling and his overall run support, especially if he wants to play in the box, which Denver surprisingly put Kareem Jackson in the box a lot. But yeah, he's my third favorite safety in this class. 4108, a guy who is way above consensus for me, and that is Sim Richards, I'm not sure how you say that, out of UNC, offensive lineman. I scouted him as an offensive tackle, but he can play anywhere on the offensive line. He's very experienced. He's played over 2,500 snaps. The issue I have with him is just his overall balance. He might be like prone to just getting stomped on in the NFL. He's got okay footwork. He doesn't have great leverage, doesn't have great athleticism, but nonetheless, he's still a good blocker. Offensive tackle 11 would be interior offensive lineman number 7. And then at 139, I have Owen Papo, linebacker. He's an athletic beast with high upside at linebacker. He's my 8th favorite. And then undrafted talent in Raekwon O'Neal, but the best offensive tackle on the board. All right, moving on. We got Kansas City. All right, Kansas City here. Pick 31 here. You got Zay Flowers, wide receiver. Anton Harrison, as I said earlier, was on the board at this point, but Flowers, I think, is just the better pick. Favorite route runner in this class. You got options at offensive tackle. You got options at edge, but Flowers brings in the best value, and he provides the best player in the league with more support. So he's likely only going to play in the slot because of his frame, but your slot receiver right now is Sky Moore. And Zay Flowers is a pretty solid upgrade from that, so he's my 3rd favorite wide receiver. I like him more than Addison, actually. And I used to like him more than Jackson Smith-Njigba, but that has changed since that video that I made. It is now Smith-Njigba at wide receiver 2. 63. We got Adetomiwa Adebaware, edge/interior. I am not as high on him as consensus is, but he's still a good 3rd-round talent here. He's best value at this selection. I just bumped my mic again. Athletic, he's a very athletic pass rusher and run defender as well. He's got versatility to play outside or inside. He does have troubles finishing the play though. Edge 16 right there. Pick 95. I got Jaquelin Roy, interior defensive lineman. Roy is the most NFL ready interior lineman on the board for me. And no more early selections. They just go ahead and take the safe pick. So he's a good athlete on the inside, but he is sometimes a little too reliant on his athleticism. My number 10 interior defensive lineman in this class. Continuing on, we got Tyler Steen, offensive tackle. Another guy who I kind of have lower than consensus does, but he is a rotational tackle who could fill in the void at left tackle. They got Jawan Taylor. I don't think he's going to be a good left tackle. 158, a guy who in a mock trade, which is Chiefs trade down from 134, they get 158, and then it's kind of a pick swap depending on where the teams place next year. But nonetheless, Jason Taylor gets selected here. I think he's a very underrated safety. And he's got a great eye for the ball, safety 14. Hear me out with this next one. Dorian Thomas-Robinson, DCR. At pick 166. I don't think he's going to be playing quarterback in the NFL. I'm going to be honest. He's got undrafted talent for me at quarterback. But as a player in Kansas City's offense, I think you just select him with the upside at a skill position. So he can make that transition to a skill position. And speaking on that, Eric Gray is next at 178. He could play both. He could play in the Wildcat really well, kind of like that Jerick McKinnon kind of guy, and he can also just play general running back. So he's my running back 13. And I didn't before we get into the next pick. Their next pick would have been 217, but they traded away for a next year 6th from the Panthers. And these next two guys are probably just going to get cut. Linebacker Charlie Thomas is my 21st best linebacker, and C.J. Johnson is my 28th. Best wide receiver. 2 teams left in the AFC, and this is just a lot. We got 11 selections here from the Las Vegas Raiders. And they were going to have 12, but they traded away a pick. We start with Will Levis at 1-7. I think he's probably not the best. Jimmy G's probably not the best guy to develop behind, especially when Levis is just not NFL ready right now. But he's got awful decision making. But he's got solid accuracy and solid athleticism. He can just develop as a backup for a couple of years while Jimmy G sits and starts for Las Vegas. He's probably not the best mentor for Levis's game, but he needs someone. So After that, you got 238. You got DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle here. He is rising on my board. He could be potentially higher than Anton Harrison when it comes to draft night. He may be a first round talent too. We'll see what happens, but he is already a good blocker with ridiculous size and length. His height may be a little bit concerning though when he's playing against these smaller rushers. I'm noting his lower body strength is a little bit lackluster, but he's still my 6th favorite offensive tackle in this class. 256. Here's the mock trade. Raiders trade up 14 spots, trade away 70, 141, and the next year 4th round pick to the Jaguars. We talked about this earlier. They trade up to take Keon White. You take the high upside edge here, who's not going to be available at 70. So White is an insane athlete for his size and the position. He's got low experience at the position, but it's rare to see the amount of success with this raw of a skill set. So he's my 9th favorite edge rusher in this class. Pick 100, a guy who was 50 under consensus for me. That's Jared Clark on the interior out of Coastal. He's a very strong interior lineman. He's got a very underrated bull rush. I think it's better than Siaki Ika's. He could go as late as round 7, but I don't think he should. He's a mid to late 3rd round talent for me, probably a late 3rd round talent, but I don't know. I disagree. 109, cornerback. They go cornerbacks back to back here. 109 is Keitrell Clark. I believe that one is Louisville. I get him and Q-Blue Clark mixed up, or Q-Blue Kelly mixed up all the time. It's either Keitrell Clark is either Louisville or Stanford, and Mekhi Blackman out of USC is at 144. So, early 4th round selection on the best corner on the board. He's got great ball skills with the production to back it up, but there are those deep threat concerns for him, and that leaves him at cornerback 18. And at Mekhi Blackman at this point is cornerback 23. He has it's just back-to-back corners to bolster that secondary that is pretty lackluster. Blackman is a very smart corner. He does lack power on the line, though. Might not be a great press guy. The rest of these guys are role players or cut candidates. We have at pick 174, Alex Forsyth out of Oregon, interior lineman 13. Brandon Hill, I believe that's Pitt, safety number 20. 214 is Payne Durham. Tight end, I do want to mention this guy, though. He is my tight end 14, but he did the Raiders replaced Waller and Moreau with Hooper and O.J. Howard. I do think that's a pretty good downgrade. So Durham has the potential to be a pretty significant player in that offense. Watch out. But he's my 14th favorite tight end. Nico Remigio, a wide receiver, is wide receiver 24, and Cam Jones at linebacker is linebacker 17. All right, let's end off the AFC here with the Los Angeles Chargers. All right. Pick 21 is Michael Mayer. A lot of people have been starting to believe that Mayer's not the best tight end in this class, and it's Kincaid or Washington. I still think it's Mayer. It's a big target addition here to try and utilize Herbert as best as possible. Gerald Everett is very inconsistent, and there isn't great depth at tight end not either. So you bring in an all-around skill set with very solid receiving abilities, and the only issue that I saw was lingering with him was what he does after the catch. I believe he's a top 10 guy on my big board. So he's my tight end 1, of course. And at 254, we got Zach Charbonnet, another guy who a lot of people are lower on, like, as the draft comes closer. Eckler may be gone, but Charbonnet just makes a lot of sense here. Let's be honest. Eckler would be a pretty massive loss. But even if he stays, Charbonnet is a big upgrade over a guy like Joshua Kelly. And Isaiah Spiller was very not good last year. So deep field speed is a little bit of a concern, but that's what Eckler is for. If you can't get Eckler back, I think Joshua Kelly has that deep speed. So stay in LA for Charbonnet. So running back 4 in this class for me. At pick 85, you got Jair Brown, safety out of Penn State. Your starting free safety is JT Woods. So Brown brings in a pretty good ball hawking skill set, and he could perform well enough to get that starting spot by day 1. So the fluidity is the biggest issue for him, but still my 7th favorite safety in this class. Pick 125, a guy who's 50 under consensus here is Tavius Robinson. He's actually projected to go undrafted, but I love him here in the 4th round. He's got elite measurables with good athleticism. The issue here, though, is the power right after the snap. So he doesn't have great functional strength, but he does have great athleticism at edge. He's the 19th best edge in this class, in my opinion. Rest of these guys are role players and/or guys who are going to get cut. Yeah, excuse me. At 156, you got Jalen Redmond, interior D lineman 13. 200, you got Jaden Reed, my wide receiver 22, a guy who is 50 over consensus. And at 239, you got Ventrell Miller, linebacker 19. All right, let's start the NFC and the NFC East. We got Dallas to start us off. As I said, they do trade with the Texans from earlier. And the reason for that trade is because if you trade down, no matter what, you're getting one of those top 2 interior offensive linemen at this point. And Michael Schmitz is my favorite, so Torrance is my second. So Torrance it is here. JMS went off the board to the Bills earlier, as I said. But Torrance is an elite run blocker. He is going to just the Cowboys next year. Their new offensive coordinator, Brian S. I don't know how to pronounce his last name at the top of my head, but he's going to want to pound the ball with Tony Pollard. So you take one of the best running backs in the league and you put a really good run blocker right there with him. Pass protection does have some concerns, but the scheme just fits perfectly here with Torrance. So interior O-lineman number 2. 258, you got Luke Musgrave. Best tight end on the board, solid replacement for Dalton Schultz. The team does have a lot of depth at tight end, and they did perform well without Schultz in 2022 when he was injured. But nonetheless, Musgrave does have a pretty good blend of size and athleticism, but he did have minimal production, which is a bit concerning. He is my 6th favorite tight end in this class. Pick 90, Sean Tucker. Zeke replacement right here. He's not as fast or electric as Zeke, and he is a bit slow for the position, but he is very explosive, and he has the play strength to develop. So my 6th favorite running back in this class here, Sean Tucker. Pick 104, part of that mock trade. You take Gervon Dexter Sr. out of Florida, interior D lineman. Rotational piece on the line. You should work through different alignments, especially when Micah Parsons is on the line. He's going to be playing in several different places. So D lineman 12 in this class for me. Pick 129, guy who is 50 under. A lot of 4 straight picks here, actually, out of guys who are 50 under consensus. We start with Darrell Luter Jr., the cornerback out of South Alabama. He's an underrated cornerback with elite ball skills and length, which will allow those to translate. I have him way higher than consensus. And then at 169, Kyle Soley. He's probably going to be a rotational / role player, but he is my linebacker 13. He doesn't even have a consensus. So yeah. Kyle Soley at 169. At 201, part of that mock trade, they take Antoine Green, wide receiver out of UNC. At 212, they take Harrison Mevis out of Mizzou, my 2nd favorite kicker in this class. And at 244, they take Rashad Torrance II, safety number 22. Now you got New York Giants, the other part of New York that isn't even in New York. New York Giants here. We start with wideout at 25, and it's Jordan Addison who's still on the board up to this point. So Flowers at this point, as I said earlier, is my favorite of the 2. But New York just drafted Wan'Dale Robinson in the 2nd round last year. So I think Jordan Addison brings great separation abilities to New York, and he should immediately become the wide receiver 1 in that offense. He is my 4th favorite wideout in this class. 57, over Joe Tippmann, I have Luke Weipler. He is my 3rd favorite interior guy behind Michael Schmitz and Torrance. Weipler is a fantastic pass blocker with amazing technique, great leverage too. He does struggle against elusive rushers though, so he's likely just going to stick in at center and that's it. He's my 3rd favorite interior lineman, as I said. Pick 89, you got J.L. Skinner. The safety injury concern is there. He did tear a pec postseason, but big injury concern, but he's still a great safety. He can develop well as a backup to start his career. He does have the potential to be an impactful starter, though. He's my 8th favorite safety. 128, you got Jay Ward, a D-back. He is a versatile guy. He can play wherever he wants in the secondary. A cornerback 20, and he would be the safety 12. It just really depends where you play him. Other than that, the rest of these guys are going to be guys, role players or cut players. Pick 160, you got I hate this guy's name. He doesn't pronounce it Muhammad. He pronounces Mahmoud. So Mahmoud Diabate. Linebacker 12. Cornerback 30 and Cameron Mitchell. Hunter Lupke. Don't know how to say that. At fullback. Probably going to play fullback tight end hybrid there. And then you got Jacob Slade on the inside, undrafted talent. And then you got Deuce Vaughn at 254, who I don't like really. I think he's way too small for the NFL, and I don't think Tomlinson should be the like epitome of a guy like this. It's just a outlier. 23 best running back in my opinion. All right, we move on to Philly. My apologies there. We move on to Philly. So at pick 10, yes, I have Bijan Robinson. No, I don't think the Eagles or Howie Roseman would make this pick. This is what I think they should pick, as Robinson is a generational talent at running back. He's got genuine potential to become a Hall of Famer. It's just way too risky to pick running back for Hall of Fame. He is my fourth favorite prospect in this draft, and he can just do everything as a running back. So he's my running back 1 in this class, of course. He should be everyone's running back 1. I hope Jahmyr Gibbs isn't any of yours. I think Bijan is clear-cut 1. Best prospects in Saquon, honestly. Pick 30, you got Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher. I do like his upside, but I don't think anything else appealed to me that wasn't play strength or the utilization of his strength. Lackluster athlete, but yet I can see Van Ness working extremely well as just a rotational piece in Philly's offense, or Philly's defense, sorry. So edge number 7 for Van Ness. 262, we got Clark Phillips here. Can be an elite slot corner in the NFL. He's got great zone coverage. He's got okay man coverage, but playing nickelback, is going to be, could be safety there. So I think Phillips will probably transition over to safety next or for upcoming years. And size is obviously a concern for him, but he has good play strength for his frame. He's my 10th favorite corner. Pick 120. This is a mock trade with the Steelers. I mentioned this earlier. Eagles trade down 26 picks, and then they get a 3rd-round pick next year. With this pick, they take Daniel Scott, the safety. I like Scott's developmental upside, especially in Philly's defense, but he's doesn't particularly have a guy to develop behind, though. So we'll see what happens. He's my 12th favorite safety. And the rest of these guys are just going to be role players. Probably both of these guys are going to get cut. They're both undrafted talents to me. Keandre Coburn, interior D lineman at 219, and Jordan McFadden, interior O lineman at 248. And the last team in the NFC East is going to be the Washington Commanders. Only 5 picks here, and we start with Joey Porter Jr. at pick 16. So Porter is not the best corner on the board with this pick. It is Emmanuel Forbes for me. But if you can develop better instincts, Porter will be that great corner. And I think he just fits better with Washington. He will have holding penalties galore if he doesn't fix his instincts, but his ball skills are insanely good for a cornerback. And I love his developmental upside as well. 247, Cody Mauch. Anywhere on the O-line. We're just going to put it that way. Anywhere on the O-line. Versatile offensive lineman, as I said. He can play outside, he can play inside, and he's got great movement skills. He developed very well at North Dakota State as an FCS team. A lot of great players have came out of North NDSU. We'll see if Mauch can do that. Pick 97, 2 back-to-back guys here who are 50 under consensus with their picks. 397, you got Warren McClendon. He brings in that interior O-line depth for Washington, and he could potentially develop into a starting guard next year. Probably not immediately, though. He is my interior O-lineman number 7. And at 118, I got Ronnie Hickman, safety. He's a rotational piece in that secondary, and the Commanders are actually phenomenal at developing safeties. Their two starting guys this year are Cam Curl and Forrest. Don't know why I can't get his last name ever, but Forrest Blank is their other starting safety. He was really good last year too. And then you even got Jeremy Reeves off the bench, who's a great tackler. So Hickman's my 11th favorite safety. And at 150, you got Cameron Latu, Alabama tight end. I like his upside as a pass catcher, but not particularly as a blocker. So yeah, he is my tight end 10. All right, we are moving outside of the NFC East. We are moving into the NFC North. So we are moving on to the Bears first. Yes, Chicago. So, Peter Skoronski comes here at pick 9. I said I was teasing this earlier, but the only O-line that I like on Chicago's line is Tevin Jenkins, actually, and that's strictly based on upside. Skoronski can play anywhere, even center. The best option here is Skoronski. I forgot to mention Whitehair is getting old. That's all I got to say. But my prediction is Paris Johnson, though. That's who I predict the Bears are going to select, but who they should select is going to be Skoronski for me. He's versatile, as I mentioned, but he's also got fantastic technique and is the most NFL-ready O-lineman in this class. He is my second favorite offensive tackle, but he would be my favorite interior O-lineman. At pick 53, we got Will McDonald, the fourth edge rusher. Solid edge piece here for Chicago. He's a high upside selection with very good length. He's got a good motor. Downside, though, he does have lackluster functional strength. It's very under average. He was very productive, though, despite that at Iowa State. And he is my 11th favorite edge rusher in this class. A little bit of a reach here, in my opinion. But Cam Smith comes off the board. He is my cornerback 12. I've seen him as high as cornerback 4 on some big boards. And as I said, it is a little bit of a reach for me, but he's probably going to go higher than 61 or lower, than 61 in a lot of these classes. Jeez, I said that so wrong. In a lot of these drafts. So NFL skill set, nonetheless. He's very quick. He's got good ball skills, but he loses in separation and instincts. He is, as I said, he's my cornerback 12. Moving forward after that, we got Joe Tippmann. Tippmann, he fills in that center position for Lucas Patrick. I don't think Patrick's going to really hold up on the inside. And given Tippmann's versatility, he might even be able to play guard. So this should work for Chicago. Interior O-lineman 4 for this. Pick 88, this is a mock trade that we've already mentioned. Bears trade up 15 slots, and with that 88th pick, they take Devon Achane. Interesting pick. Bears fans, let me explain. He is not going to particularly work as a running back with Chicago. You guys got Khalil Herbert. You guys got Deontay Foreman. Herbert's probably the better player out of the two. But instead, you're going to probably use Achane as a gadget player. So a guy who can play like a Deebo Samuel type player. He can play receiver. He's got great receiving, and he's got the best athleticism of any running back in this class. So great running back there. Great pick here. He's my 5th favorite running back in this class. Moving on, though, they traded away 103 and 136, but they have 133. They take Zach Pickens. Almost was lower than consensus, or 50 over consensus, but he is a very solid interior D lineman. Given the situation, he may be the starting defensive tackle in Chicago. He's a very physical defensive lineman, and he comes in at D-line 15 for me. Pick 148, Noah Sewell. It's like fallen consensus as just like Zach Pickens was, but it's still a nice landing spot with Chicago. He's a very good Mike linebacker, so linebacker 10, or my 10th favorite linebacker in this class. And then the next two guys are probably going to be cut candidates for me. Charlie Jones, wideout out of Purdue at wide receiver 23, and Jane Hasselwood out of Arkansas, another wide receiver 29. One of them is going to stay, one of them is going to get cut. That's all I can really say about it. All right, moving on. We got Detroit. Detroit, we got Christian Gonzalez to start us off at pick number 6. They don't have any mock trades. I forgot to mention that. But Gonzalez is my favorite cornerback in this class, and it's strictly due to upside. Great press coverage with good mirroring ability, good deep speed. He's got all of those traits to be a lockdown man corner. He does have a developing zone, and he does struggle with anticipation and route squeeze and off man. But nonetheless, he's my favorite cornerback in this class. Well, pick 18, you got Kalijah Kancey, interior defensive lineman. This is a fantastic pick for Detroit. He's a freak athlete for the position, and he had great production while with Pitt. And he works really well with Detroit's forefront scheme. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a coach in Detroit, I can't remember which one it is, also coached up Aaron Donald in LA and developed him. And Kancey is literally a carbon copy of Aaron Donald as a prospect. Size may be a concern in the NFL, though. Of course it is. He's 6'1" at D tackle. It might not work. But same guy who's developing Donald might be able to develop Kancey. So interior defensive lineman 2, I think Kancey's a beautiful pick right here. Moving on to pick 48. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, edge rusher out of Kansas State, another D-line pick here, and he's likely going to be that guy who's lining up on the other end outside of Aiden Hutchinson. I really like Uzomah's athleticism for his position and frame, and the way he just chases opposing quarterbacks down is fantastic. He is my 10th favorite edge in this class. At 55, I got Sam Laporta, tight end. They got good depth at tight end, but they don't have a starting talent at this position. Laporta does change that. He's a great receiving tight end, but on rundowns, he may need to either line up with another tight end or just be out off the field. But nonetheless, good receiving tight end. He's my 5th favorite in this class. At 81, you got Tyjae Spears, running back out of Tulane. I think this is a great selection in the backfield for Detroit. I do think he's a bit underrated for Tyjae Spears, but nonetheless, I'm not expecting DeAndre Swift to come back for the season after this upcoming season, and Spears is basically just a carbon copy of Swift, in my opinion at least. So, he's very good in run situations too. His size is a bit of a concern, but he's likely going to be used in receiving situations like Swift was if Swift leaves. Moving on, pick 152, Jaron Hall, quarterback. Back up to Jared Goff here. He's a very creative quarterback, and he's got good arm talent too. He's my 7th favorite quarterback in this class. And 7 picks later, you got his teammate, apologize if I botched his name, Puka Nacua. Wide receiver, as I said, Jaron Hall's college teammate. The pick just makes sense. Best wide receiver on the board too, wide receiver 14. And the rest of these guys are probably players who are going to get cut. At 183, you got Nesta Jade Silvera on the inside of the D-line. At interior D-line 16, and Shamari Connor, safety, who is my 17th best safety. Green Bay, you're up next. Green Bay, we're going to start here by talking about their 2 mock trades. I've already talked about Aaron Rodgers, so actually let's talk about one. Later on, they trade down 26 picks with the Buccaneers, and they get a 6th round pick, and that adds up to 12 selections, which is the most of any team in this draft. So that's why I wanted to mention that. But nonetheless, we start with Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide out. He's a very crafty route runner. He's my 2nd favorite route runner in this class behind Zay Flowers. He's got fantastic body control as a wide receiver prospect. Packers are still dealing with Dobbs on the outside. And while he is good, I'm not particularly giving up on Dobbs, but I would prefer him as a rotational piece at wideout. And Smith-Njigba's injury did lose him out on a 2nd productive season, but he is still elite, and he's my 2nd favorite wide receiver in this class. With the pick that they receive by trading Aaron Rodgers, they take Darnell Washington. He's an Aaron Rodgers. It's just a mock pick. This Packers roster is desperate for tight ends, and Washington just fits the mold of a Green Bay tight end. He can block. He's a reliable pass catcher if needed, but he's better blocker than receiver. He does need to work on separating, especially in the press, but he is my 2nd favorite tight end. At pick 45, you got off the edge Derek Hall. He could be a pro-level edge rusher in this class, Pro Bowl level rusher in this class. He's got elite explosiveness off the line. He's got good athleticism too. He just needs to work on consistency. He's my 8th favorite edge rusher in this class. At pick 78, you got Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle, Maryland. New right tackle, and if not, it's just a rotational piece, reliable piece at offensive tackle. He's got a great frame, and he's got developmental upside there as well. And he's my 9th favorite offensive tackle in this class. And hear me out, Green Bay. You guys will take 2 tight ends in this draft, and that is because you guys are so dry at tight end right now that you guys would need a receiving tight end. Another tight end, Brenton Strange out of Penn State is basically just a flexible piece that is basically what Robert Tonyan was. So you bring in Darnell Washington as a reliable pass catcher, and then you bring in Brenton Strange, who's likely going to have the better production at tight end, but Washington is going to be a fantastic blocker. Pick 170, another wide receiver. Now you got Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell's probably going to immediately come into Green Bay and start in the slot. He is the 2nd wide receiver taken by then, and it is Ronnie Bell out of Michigan. That would be... No, David Bell was Purdue. Who's that? Anthony Schwartz was not Michigan. He was Auburn. Anthony Schwartz is Auburn. There's a lot of these speedy receivers that are coming in. There's one guy out of Michigan who just came into the draft, and he's a speedy slot too. So we'll see. If I can, I'm not going to be able to remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the wide receiver 19. With the mock pick from the Bucs, they do take Israel Abanikanda, and while you see the red on there, don't think it was like a bad trade, but that's simply saying that he's higher on consensus than I have him. I'm not too big on Abanikanda, but he's still very solid. He's my running back 17. And the rest of these guys are either role players and or cut candidates. You got safety Kayvon Merriweather out of Iowa at safety 18. Jake Haener, quarterback 10. Chad Ryland, kicker, probably this time not going to be a rotational piece or anything. He's probably going to be a starting kicker. Jonas Havai, undrafted talent. Drake Thomas, undrafted talent. Just the best at their positions. And finally, in the NFC North, we round out with Minnesota. We start with Deonte Banks at cornerback. Now, I've been mocking Banks to Minnesota for a while. He just honestly is a perfect pick there. I did forget to highlight the mock pick, which is 134, but we'll get to that in a moment. I just wanted to point that out real quick. But he's not my favorite corner on the board. Actually, no, he is my favorite corner on the board at this point. Emmanuel Forbes gets off before him. We'll get to that in a moment. But he is very versatile in coverage. He's got good athleticism, but the issue here is his deep speed, especially against these faster receivers. So cornerback 5, my apologies. 387, you got Xavier Hutchinson. Hutchinson could be a diamond in the rough later on in the draft, but I do like him at this pick because of his red zone potential, and he's already got a polished route running and route tree. He's my wide receiver 8. For 119, you got Tanner McKee, quarterback, your backup cornerback to Cousins now. Big upside for McKee in the NFL if he can develop into a much more consistent skill set. But I like him at backup. I think he's better than Kellen Mond ever was. And at 134, that mock trade, again, I forgot to highlight it, but the Vikings do trade up to select DeMarvion Overshown, the linebacker out of Texas. I think this is a great trade up to fill for Eric Hendricks. That inside linebacker group needs a lot of help, and I do think Overshown ends up developing into that starting position. So linebacker 6 in this draft. And a guy who's just a role player, Thomas Nkoum, edge. He's my 29th favorite edge in this class. All right. We have 8 teams remaining. We are moving on to Atlanta. So, with Atlanta, we start off at pick number 8 with Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. I love this selection to Atlanta, especially since I'm an Illini fan. Witherspoon has developed into a fantastic corner in only 6 years of ever playing football. He's got the best anticipation in this class. He's got all-around coverage success everywhere. The only problem is that his lean frame may keep him from playing as an outside corner. We'll see when it comes to that point. We'll see how Atlanta utilizes him, but he's my second favorite corner in this class. At pick 244, we got Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, wide receiver. I think he is a good deep threat to develop Ritter's game. He's got a good short game too, but We know he can play well almost everywhere on the field. His scheme at Tennessee was very college-like, though, and he may not transfer well. So we'll see. He's my 6th favorite wideout in this class. Pick 75, we got Carl Brooks, defensive lineman. Coming from Bowling Green, I think Brooks could possibly be a gem for that exact reason. He's a great leader, according to Bowling Green teammates, with great explosion off the line, too. He's my interior D lineman, number 7. Pick 4, 110, you have Rashawn Johnson. Running back, he's not particularly going to compete for Allgeier's job, but he's still a good backup. He provides good injury support. Running backs did deal with a solid amount of injuries last year for Atlanta, so he's my running back 8. At pick 3 picks later, you got Olusegun Oluwatimi or Oluolu. Interior O-lineman, he is a fantastic run blocker to rotate in and out of that lineup. He is my interior O-lineman number 9. At 7, 224, these guys are probably cut candidates. You got Viliami Fehoko Jr., edge number 31, and D. Winters, who I don't think he should be cut, but he is pick number 225 at the 16th best linebacker. We're moving on to number 1 overall pick, Carolina Panthers. Look at that. You're just going to see that bottom. I'll get to that in a moment. Carolina, we start with Bryce Young at pick 1. He is the best QB on the board for a team that needs a QB, so of course you're going to take the best QB. So Young, in my opinion, is kind of just like a smaller version of Mahomes. He's got elite poise, pocket mobility, accuracy. His arm talent is still developing, but it's already pretty good. Of course, the size is going to be a problem, and we haven't really seen a great season out of one of these 5'10", 5'11" guys since Drew Brees. Probably. I don't know. I don't know if you want to count Russ's. The last 3 or 4 seasons of Russ have not been great, so we'll see, but he's still my QB1. He's fantastic. This was an obvious pick at 39. Jahmyr Gibbs is available. If you don't pick Jahmyr Gibbs at this point, if you're Carolina, you are stupid. Even if Bijan Robinson's on the board, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs at this point because you have Bryce Young already, and you reunite Young and Gibbs is likely the RB1 in this offense. So it's a great gadget player potential as well right there, and he's my 2nd favorite running back in the class. Pick 93, you got Q-Blue Kelly. Again, this is a guy I keep getting mixed up with Keitrell Clark. But you got cornerback depth here. He can develop pretty well under Ejiro Evero, the new Panthers defensive coordinator. And he's got potential to be that starting corner. He's my 15th favorite corner in this class. We now get to Nick Herbig, linebacker / edge, however you want to put it. He is a versatile defender who can play wherever Carolina needs him. I think I'm going to stick him to linebacker. I did scout him as an edge, and he is my 21st favorite edge, and he would be my 8th favorite linebacker. But I think, noting that they pick Mike Morris here now at pick 132, I think this is a fair choice. So Mike Morris, he's a rotational edge defender with this selection, simply edge number 23. And then these next 2 guys, I think are role players and not cut candidates. Henry Bainvalu, interior O-line, 10th favorite. And then you get a mock trade here. I mentioned this with the Chiefs earlier. So the Chiefs get the 2024 6th round pick. Panthers get the 217. Yes, I don't like Cedric Tillman. I don't like the skill set he has, and he was already his stats are already pretty much easily manipulated through Tennessee's offense. And last season, I know he was hurt for a little bit, but he really didn't put up good stats when he played. He played in Tennessee's system. I don't think it's going to translate. I really don't. He's not a cut candidate, but I don't think he's as good as everyone says he is. He's my 26th favorite wide receiver in this class. All right. Moving on. Whew. We're getting there. I've been doing this for now almost an hour and a half. So wow. We move on to New Orleans. At pick 29, though, you got Brian Bresee. Yeah, no mock trades here, but at 29, Brian Bresee, high upside selection. He's the former number 1 prospect coming out of high school. He's got great lateral movement, great elusive skill set as well. He can play with New Orleans all across the line due to his versatility. He would be great if it wasn't for the injury concerns. Hopefully he could stay healthy in the NFL, but he had so many issues with injuries. If you want to know his full injury history, I do mention that in my top 10 defensive lineman video. He is my third favorite in this class, still, despite the injuries. Isaiah Foskey, edge rusher, comes next. At pick 40, I love him as a prospect overall. He does fit the mold for New Orleans. He did struggle against NFL talent when with Notre Dame. That is very, very concerning. But when he didn't struggle, he was elite. Probably Miles Murphy type elite when it came to whenever he didn't struggle. So he's my sixth favorite edge. So he's gonna have to develop more consistency, of course. Pick 71, you got Tank Dell, wide receiver. Excuse me. I believe he is the best slot wide receiver available. I do like the outside potential in this offense. Even if Michael Thomas leaves, they did pick up Brian Edwards, who I still think has been getting bullied. Like, I don't think he's as bad as, like, the transaction chart is going to tell you. But Olave as well, of course. And I think Rashid Shaheed, I think that's his name. I think he's just a one-play-a-game guy. So Tank Dell is my 13th favorite wideout in this class. At pick 115 now, you got Jacorian Bennett. He's got a very high upside, but he's a pretty solid rotational corner. Cornerback 17, in my opinion. And then I am going to get down here to talk about one guy, but the rest of these guys are either cut candidates or role players. 146, we got Jarrett Patterson, interior O-line 11. 165, we got Luke Schoonmaker, tight end 11. And at 257, you have Trevor Reed, undrafted talent. 227, yes, back-to-back controversy. I don't like Kenny McIntosh. I'm not a fan. He has the traits, but the vision just is not there for him, and he's likely just going to be a one-down back. So you're not going to want to value him over some of the guys above him. He's my 21st favorite running back in this class. Yeah, not great. But other than that, that's New Orleans. We move on to the final team in the NFC South. We move on to Tampa Bay. Two mock trades here. I'll get to those in a moment. But we actually already seen both of these. We start at pick 19 with Miles Murphy off the edge. I did originally have an A+ grade on Miles Murphy. He is down to my number 11 prospect in an A, but he's still a fantastic pickup for Tampa at pick 19. He's versatile on the line. He's got outside linebacker traits, and he's likely playing D-end with Tampa instead of edge. He's very consistent, but he's not too elusive, so he is going to stick at my third best edge in this class, behind two very good ones. So saying he's the third best is definitely still not a good example of how good he actually is. Pick 50, Jack Campbell. As I said earlier, they trade away Devin White. And he would fit right into the culture of Tampa Bay. He will develop really well alongside David. He actually is very reminiscent of David-ish in a way. In terms of leadership and communication and just overall what traits they have best. He's got elite Mike traits. He just lacks the explosiveness and the reaction traits, which he is my second favorite linebacker in this class. Pick 82, you got Jamie Robinson, safety out of Florida State. You pick up Robinson, and Tampa might have the best run defense in the NFL. The downside with Robinson is his upside as a deep safety, but he is still my fifth favorite in this class. All right, pick 149. This is the mock trade. So Buccaneers trade up 26 selections to take Chase Brown, running back out of Illinois. He's the best running back on the board. He's the running back 10 in this class for me. You trade up for Chase Brown, you form a running back committee behind Rachaad White. Pretty simple. And the rest of these guys are just rotational pieces / cut potential. You got offensive tackle Ryan Hayes. He's my 16th favorite. 179, you got cornerback Starling Thomas, the 5th. He is my 27th. Interior O-lineman Tashawn Manning, 14th. And McClendon Curtis, and also on the interior is undrafted talent. All right. We got 4 teams remaining, you guys. We are almost done. This video is pretty long, but let's move on. Arizona is now up. We're going to go through now the NFC South, or West. Sorry, not South. We just went to the South. But Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. As I said, they had that mock trade earlier where Titans trade up to pick number 3. So the Cardinals trade down to pick 11, and they still get Tyree Wilson. Bull rush is fantastic out of Wilson. He will be a great run defender in the NFL. There is a concern, though, and that's how his pass rush game will translate. He's not too elusive or athletic or explosive. He's just not great athletic. He just doesn't have a great athletic profile. He's still my second favorite edge rusher, though. 234, you got Mozzie Smith, interior D lineman out of Michigan. Another great run defender here. So I think, actually, he's an elite run defender. That's saying something. So when I say that, I'm saying that Mozzie Smith and Tyree Wilson can combine to make a really good run defense for Arizona, whose run defense was not good last year. Mozzie Smith is great at the line of scrimmage, but he's not so great when he gets past the line of scrimmage. He is going to have to develop a good pass rush skill set, but he is still a fantastic run defender. Pick 241. This is also part of the mock trade with Tennessee. This is DJ Turner, staying in Michigan here. DJ Turner, cornerback. He's a very athletic corner with deep speed, and he's got fantastic upside on the outside. The issue is his red zone potential, as he doesn't particularly have great size or length to defend these vertical receivers, but he's still my 7th favorite corner. At safety, Christopher Smith, Budda Baker potentially leaving. So try and replace him to your best of ability. I think Christopher Smith is possibly the best you're going to get. I love Smith as a 3rd-round selection, but my grade for him is a mid-second. He's got great anticipation. He's got great timing. He's got great ball skills for a safety, but he lacks an NFL frame. He's still my 2nd favorite safety in this class, though. Pick 96. Now you got Emil Ekiyor. I don't know how you say that. My apologies. Interior O-lineman. That interior O-line is a bit lackluster. So Ekiyor brings the again. I'm sorry. But he does bring the potential to start in this offense early on, and he is my 6th favorite interior O-lineman in this class. 168, you got Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver LSU. Dropped in stock for me a lot. He's a good depth piece, especially when you consider Arizona's wideout room, but I don't see him ever being anything outside of a good depth piece. He's my 17th favorite wideout in this class. At 180, you got Eku Leota, interior D lineman. Not to mention these next 3 guys would probably be rotational or cut potential. Edge 20, he is my 24th favorite edge, but he would likely be the 12th best interior D lineman. Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back 20, and Servokea Dennis, linebacker out of Pitt, is my 15th favorite linebacker. LA Rams, moving on. All right. LA Rams, I already mentioned this trade up before. They trade up 8 picks to take BJ Ojulari, edge rusher. I think Ojulari has the potential to be a top 3 edge rusher in this class. He's just fantastic. Very good athlete with elite explosiveness off the edge. He's a gritty player who could be known as a leader across the league. His biggest concern, though, is his frame, but his brother Aziz is doing really well with the same frame. So Ojulari is my 4th favorite edge in this class. Pick 69, Antonio Johnson, safety out of Texas A&M. He's my 4th favorite safety in this class, but he is a versatile defensive back. He can play safety, he can play corner. He'll likely play safety when you look at these next couple of picks, though. Pick 131, part of that mock trade, you take Chandler Zavala, interior offensive lineman. He's the best interior O-lineman on the board up to this point. He's a very solid pick at 131, too. So, 7th favorite interior O-lineman, in my opinion. Pick 167, now you got Riley Moss, the cornerback out of Iowa. And you also pick at 177, you take Corey Trice, cornerback out of Purdue. So 2 cornerbacks and 10 picks. You're developing that D-back room, especially the corner room, which is very bad. Moss has the better upside, but Trice is more NFL ready. I think both could be starting by midseason, but that's not particularly a good thing when you give how bad this cornerback room is. So cornerback 25, cornerback 28. 182, we got Luke Haggard. Just an overall O-line here. Just an overall O-line selection. I scouted him as an offensive tackle. He's offensive tackle 19. Would be on the interior O-line 13, but he's just a role player / cut candidate. The rest of these guys are the same way. You got Tyon Evans at 189 as my 15th best running back. Dontavion Wicks at 191 is my 20th favorite wide receiver. Lonnie Phelps at 223 is my 30th favorite edge. And Jackson Kirkland, offensive tackle, is an undrafted talent. 2 guys left, 2 teams. We're getting bold. Just be ready. 11 picks here for San Francisco. And we're going to get a little bold. Look at all the green and no red on that board right there. We start with Alex Austin at corner. I think they gave this pick a D+ or something like that when I was doing this on MDD. But cornerback out of Oregon State and Dylan Horton, edge out of TCU at 102. These first 2 selections are very upside based. Austin is very low on consensus, but to me, he's a plus athlete. He's got great cornerback instincts, and he's my 14th favorite corner in this class. And then Dylan Horton's a guy who's gained on me throughout the weeks. He's another good athlete. He's got a high motor, but he's pretty raw as a pass rusher. He's my 14th favorite edge. At pick 112, this is the mock trade with the Jets. Brandon Joseph, safety out of Notre Dame. Joseph is a very solid safety prospect that may make this selection upside based as well. He may be the consensus best on board. He's my favorite on board, and he's my 9th favorite safety in the class. At 155, we got Nick Broker, an interior offensive lineman. Rotational interior lineman with starting upside. Interior O-line 12. And then the rest of these guys, the next 7, are either role players or cut candidates. You got Trey Palmer, wide receiver 16. John Ojakwu, offensive tackle 18. Gravarius Owens, safety 19. Tyler Lacey, D-line, undrafted. Blake Whiteheart, tight end 15. I want to mention Blake Whiteheart here in a moment. 253, Robert Beal Jr., edge 33. And Miles Brooks, undrafted talent. I want to mention Blake Whiteheart because I like the upside here. Of course, he's not going to start over Kittle, but that tight end 2 spot might be right there for Whiteheart. I love his upside, and as I said, he's my 15th favorite tight end. I don't think he's going to do it, but he's got the upside. One more team, guys. We move on to Seattle, and we end off with them. So we start here at pick 5, which is Jalen Carter, interior D-line. I know, character concerns. Not sure if Seattle's going to want this pick, but he's still an A+ prospect. He's my 2nd favorite in this class. I think he has a very similar situation to Micah Parsons, and I will keep saying that. He has a lead on the inside in both pass and run with a versatile skill set as well, but character is my only concern for him. He is my favorite interior D lineman. Pick 20, you got Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State. Forbes is my 3rd favorite corner in this class. He is a bit raw, but he is fantastic in man coverage with elite mirroring ability. His lean frame is a massive concern, but I'm pulling the trigger for a versatile corner like this one. As I said, 3rd favorite corner in this class. Pick 237, you got Drew Sanders, linebacker. Not my favorite linebacker in this class, but the versatility alone should sell Seattle right here. They need a lot on defense. And I think the versatility with linebacker, potential off the edge, potential blitzing situations, and when you got an 80 defense, I think he just fits right in. He's my linebacker 3, and he would be my edge number 7. 252, you got Steve Avila. I'm not sold on him, but after watching film, I'm not sold on him after watching film, but he's probably still the best selection right here. He's got great strength on the line with elite versatility, but he allowed too many pressures on tape, so he's my interior O-line number 5. Jonathan Mingo, number 83, big upside pick here. His stock has risen in my eyes too, and he's just a fantastic playmaker in open field, so do not sleep on Jonathan Mingo. He is my wide receiver number 9. Then you got, at 123, you got Yaya Diaby. Edge rusher. He's a fun edge prospect. He's got great play strength, and he's another guy who's just heavily grown on me. Edge number 22. The only colorful buddy on this list is the red Tank Bigsby at 151. I'm not too high on Bigsby. He's my running back 10 still, and you're still picking up the 10th best running back at 151. That's not too bad. And then the rest of these guys are rotational role players. Marte Mapu, he's got upside to start in that defense, though. He's linebacker 11. Clayton Tune, potential quarterback 2. He is my 9th favorite quarterback in this class. And Sidy So, don't know how you say that, Eastern Michigan offensive tackle is undrafted talent. Well. We have made it to the end here. We are sitting on about an hour and 40 minutes of film. Let me get you guys back to a full cam here. But anyways, that was very long, but I had a lot of work on that, and I really appreciate you for watching this video. If you're watching this here at the end, if you did enjoy this video, if you agreed with your picks, even if you didn't agree with your picks, but you agreed with the reasoning, please just let me know in the comments below. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers here. We're on the road here. We're getting close, but I think that with all the videos that I'm putting out, I really hope I can hit 1,000. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. See you guys in the next one.